Hello again, friends. Before we do our story today, I would proudly like to show you this wonderful work of art by Cozy Mossy Foxy um Cottontail, a friend of the channel. It's Jack and the Beanstalk. I think it's wonderful, so I had to show it to you, and thank you for the beautiful present, my dear friend with the tongue twister name. Today, I want to introduce you to Charles Perrault, the father of fairy tales. I know when you think of fairy tales, the Grimm brothers leap to mind, but they didn't write their tales, they collected them. In a time when children's tales were passed around by oral tradition, that means nobody wrote them down. Everybody just sort of knew them. Like when you see that actor from a thing that you really like, and he was good in that other thing too, but what was his name? The Grimm brothers were afraid that those tales would be lost forever. Just like that guy's name. Oh, it's on the tip of my tongue. He was in that one show. It was really good. And anyway, they traveled the countryside asking folks to tell them stories and writing them down into collections. We must all be grateful to them, as they saved every story they could, no matter how bad or weird or horrific it was. Yay? Charles Perrault, on the other hand, laid the foundation for a literary genre known as the fairy tale. He would base his stories on old fables, but made them his own. What did he write, you ask? Little Red Riding Hood? Cinderella? Puss in Boots? Sleeping Beauty? Basically everything the Grimm brothers get credit for, Charles Perrault actually wrote. In 1697, he published Tales of Stories of the Past with Morals, otherwise known as Mother Goose Tales. The Brothers Grimm didn't publish until 1812. I'm guessing they never went to a French library to realize their work was already done. So, as I was looking this up, I began to wonder, should I have been reading Charles Perrault's work this whole time? Should I redo the stories I've already read, but a version of them that is 200 years older? Please leave a comment and let me know what you think. I don't want to repeat myself if you all would find it boring. But the editor is so much better at editing now, and the cameraman used Patreon money to get a better camera and a microphone. We even have a green screen now, thanks to a generous friend. Thank you, Razlynne. Oh, and going off subject for just a moment, I need to ask you if you prefer my lovely fake backgrounds provided by Pixabay.com, or should I go back to my old couch? The couch looks less professional, but comes with the possibilities of bored and judgmental dogs. The fake backgrounds can take me anywhere I want to go, and they're pretty. Please leave a vote in the comments. I really, really want to know. Back to the story. Oh, yes. So, I was asked by Ida to read Diamonds and Toads. But do you know what? That's not its real name. Les Fils. Or, in English, the Fairies. Once upon a time there was a widow who had 2 daughters. The elder was often mistaken for her mother. So like her was she in both nature and in looks. Both of them were so disagreeable and arrogant that no one could live with them. That's unfortunate. At first I thought, oh, this will be a nice mother-daughter tale. And then, wham! They both suck. The younger girl, who was a true likeness of her father in the gentleness and sweetness of her disposition, was also one of the most beautiful girls imaginable. Fairy tale land is so full of unimaginable beauty, it's wonder anybody can get anything done. The mother doted on the elder daughter, naturally enough, since she resembled her so closely, and she disliked the younger one just as intensely. She made her eat all her meals in the kitchen and work from morning till night. Ah, poor Cinderella. Unnamed daughter. One of the poor child's many duties was to go twice a day and draw water from a spring a good half-mile away, bringing it back in a large pitcher. One day, when she was at the spring, an old woman came up and begged for a drink. "Why, certainly, good mother," said the beautiful girl, rinsing the pitcher. She drew some water from the cleanest part of the spring and handed it to her, lifting up the pitcher so that she might drink more easily. Oh, I know this lesson already. Always be nice to old beggars that appear from nowhere in a fairy tale." Now this woman was a fairy. See, I told you. Who had taken the form of a poor peasant woman to see just how far the girl's good nature would go. "You are so beautiful," she said, when she had finished drinking, "and so polite that I am determined to bestow a gift upon you. I grant you," the fairy continued, "that with every word you speak, a flower or a precious stone shall fall from your mouth." This does not sound all that comfortable and messy. When the beautiful girl arrived home, her mother scolded her for staying so long at the spring. "I beg your pardon, mother," said the poor child, for having taken so long. And as she spoke these words, 2 roses, 2 pearls, and 2 large diamonds fell from her mouth. "I'm so sorry, dear friends. I read that incorrectly. It should have been, I beg you pardon." "What am I seeing?" cried her mother. "I do believe that I saw pearls and diamonds dropping out of your mouth. What have you been doing, my dear daughter?" This was the first time she had ever called her daughter. Silly question. Clearly she's been smuggling gemstones in her mouth and hiding them with flowers. The poor child related what had happened, scattering countless diamonds as she spoke. How long did this conversation take between spitting out gemstones? "Indeed," cried her mother. "I must send my own daughter there. Come here, Fanchon." Oh, sure, the golden child gets a name. "Look what comes out of your sister's mouth whenever she speaks. Wouldn't you like to be able to do the same thing? All you have to do is to go and draw some water at the spring, and when a poor woman asks you for a drink, give it to her very nicely." "You want to see me going to the spring?" replied the ill-mannered girl. "I am telling you that you are to go," replied the mother, "and this very instant."
Quiet dignity and grace.
Very sulkily the girl went out, taking with her the best silver flask in the house. No sooner had she reached the spring than she saw a magnificently dressed lady who came out of the woods toward her and asked for a drink. This was the same fairy who had appeared to her sister, but she was now disguised as a princess in order to see how far this girl's bad manners would go. Oh, never bet on how rude someone can be. You'll always find they go lower than you thought they could. "Do you think I have come here just to get you a drink?" said the rude girl arrogantly. "Do you think I brought a silver flask here just to give Madame a drink? Yes, that's just what I think. Here, have a drink if you must." I feel like she's seconds away from "Do you know who I am?" Maybe we should call the manager. "You are not very polite," replied the fairy, showing no anger. "Very well. In return for your lack of courtesy, I grant that every word you speak, a snake or a toad shall drop out of your mouth." "Oh, I've seen that curse before in a movie, but I'm not going to show that clip. You must know how much I love these stories, but the person who wrote them has said some not very nice things about friends of mine. It makes me very sad, so I can't look at her stories the same way anymore. It's confusing and hard, but I will choose my friends over even the best fairy tales. Oh, I'm sorry. Let's go back to the stories and remember that each of us is special and unique and priceless, and we can all make the world a better place to live in. Be nice to each other." As soon as her mother saw her returning, she cried out, "Well, daughter?" "Well, mother," replied the rude girl. As she spoke, 2 vipers and 2 toads fell from her mouth. Vipers? Those are very poisonous and aggressive. This might be a very short story. "Heavens!" cried the mother. Do you see what I see? Her sister is the cause of this. She will pay for it. Wait, how exactly is the unnamed daughter at fault? I mean, seriously, she wasn't even there. Huh. Off she ran to beat her. I'm assuming the unnamed child. But the poor child ran off and escaped into the woods nearby. The king's son met her on his way home from hunting and noticed how beautiful she was. He asked her what she was doing there all alone and why she was crying. Alas, sir, my mother has driven me from my home. As she spoke, the king's son saw 5 or 6 pearls and as many diamonds fall from her mouth. He begged her to tell him how this came about. Because he was short of cash and realized she was a warm, soft, beautiful slot machine. And she told him the whole story. The king's son fell in love with her because it was probably the best economic move he would ever make. And considering that such a gift as had been bestowed upon her was worth more than any dowry that he might receive from someone else. You think? He took her to his father's royal palace, where he married her. As for her sister, she made herself so hateful that her own mother drove her out of the house. No one would take her in because she was miserable and spit out vipers. So at last she went into a corner of the woods and died. Charles Perrault is harsh. Good little girls get diamonds and pearls, but bad little girls get death.
Is death.
I remember Mr. Perrault's donkey skin. I still haven't worked out that moral. I do wonder about Mr. Perrault. But then I realized that he was an old rich white man who advised King Louis XIV, and I thought, yep, makes more sense now. Well, friends, we come to the end of another story, and I do really want to hear from you. Should I look up the rest of those Charles Perrault versions of these stories and read those? Should I stay here in greenscreen land or go back to the all-too-real couch? These are questions that plague men's minds, or at least mine. So now is the time that I ask you to like, share, and subscribe. If you wouldn't mind to please activate the notification bell so you know when I release my stories. I know it's not a stampede to be the first to watch it, but that way you won't forget me either. I would like to thank Pixabay.com for all the wonderful sounds and images they provide. I would also like to thank you, my friends, for spending this time with me. I cannot tell you how much it means to me, or how much I cherish you. You make the world a better place, simply by being you. If you would like to support me on Patreon, Instagram, or Facebook, there are links in the description below. Remember to be kind to each other. And now, a special thank you for my Patreon friends.